Welcome to today's video workshop. Today I'm going to explain a little bit about the setup that I'm in right now. This green screen studio space, actually one of 8 on campus, and by extension also a green screen studio space that we can set up in our computer lab in Tower Hall. The idea of this workshop is to introduce you to the correct setup of such a space, including the lighting, some of the things you need to be aware of when shooting in a green screen studio space. And then in the second part of this workshop, techniques of chroma keying, which means taking one color, specifically this green background color here, and making it transparent so that we can start compositing and composing with different video sources, making them interact visually together in our video frame. Now let's take a quick look at this studio space here first. This is one that is available to all of you as part of this class. And we can maybe begin with a little tour that shows you the green screen in the background here. In fact, I've set up one of my own cameras in the back here that will show you a little bit more of the space than just this crop view that you usually get with my video tutorials in these video workshops. We also have a lighting setup in here that is fairly nice. It mimics a 3-point lighting system with fill lights, with key lights coming from the front, left and right. There's actually some main lights in the back here as well. And then there's also a highlight right on top here that gives a little bit more of a definition of the person that is actually being recorded in this space, specifically on the back of that person's head and the shoulders, making that person stand out a little bit more in front of the green screen, and making it easier for that person to see later on in the post-production process. We can actually replicate some of these settings in our Power Studio space, and I will show you exactly how to set up the lights there. If you're using one of these Video Express studio spaces, that's what they're called, you can actually just enter the space and follow some of the directions. They are posted right here on the door. You see a quick image of those right now. And following those, you basically turn on all the equipment, the lights are already mounted for you, and you are ready to shoot within 5 minutes or less. You're also welcome to bring in your own video camera. That's what I did today with the camera back here. That's recording part of this workshop. And if you like, you can also bring in your own props. You can bring in your own lights if the setup is not suitable. Now I wanted to show you quickly the camera setup in this space. You already see the camera is mounted right here, right in front of you, and it records everything that is going on behind this speaker desk right here. You see the result of the camera recording in real time on this little monitor here. And there's also monitors on the left and on the right-hand side of the room that give you some visual cues about how you're doing in front of the camera. You also see that I'm wearing a little microphone. The sound that you hear is being recorded together with the video. And what is very nice about this is that the video is going to be posted online, and as soon as you log out of the system and the video has been compiled for you, there will be an email sent to your email account and you can download the video. You also see right here in front of me a large screen that you can use to show slides, for example. This is, after all, set up for PowerPoint presentations and for online courses. So it takes a little bit of some tweaking in order to hack the system to make it fit your needs. So usually I'm not going to use this. There's another little screen right here that allows you to set different backgrounds, and I can do that in just a second. I can turn the background off. This is what you see right now. And you can actually choose from a variety of background images. White is the most neutral, and then there's probably 10 different images from around campus that are all very cheerful, but probably not what you want to use for your projects. You can turn the background on like this, and now you can see behind me already, these are the slides that you can load onto the presentation computer that will show in this little window box behind the presenter. And you can also turn this to a full screen view, where now you see the full desktop of this big screen in front of you being superimposed or being inserted right behind you, and the keying process basically getting rid of the green and putting myself in front of the computer image is happening in real time. So you can experiment with this and, for example, create a slideshow of sorts, or even bring in a QuickTime video that you can play behind you on that screen and interact with it in real time as a kind of a real-time performance setting that some of you might find interesting. I will now turn off the background images again and just work with my green screen, since we may actually want to use some of this footage in just a little bit on the computer as well, and actually try to remove this green color and turn it into a transparent background ourselves within some software tools in the Adobe Creative Suite. I'm in the screen view, and you can already see the folder with the files that we're going to use in our workshop today. This folder is an unzipped version of this zip archive that you can download from the link that is posted in the comments section of this video. And it includes the source files for the 3 projects that I would like to guide you through today. You can see the final compositions for each of these projects in the Finals Compositions folder. The first project will be a simple green screening chroma keying project using a sequence from the Introductions project by LaBeouf, Ronco, and Turner, in combination with an Andy Warhol painting, a weather map that Andy Warhol painted in the 1980s to create an alternative weather forecast of sorts. The second project is a slightly more advanced compositing project in Premiere, where we also need to go into Photoshop and take a look at how to prepare some still images. And then the third project deals with track mats, basically still image components that can be used as stencils for video layers that can be superimposed or composed with other video content in your final project. So let's get started and open up Premiere Pro. We can actually use the compositing folder that in this case is on my desktop as the project folder for all 3 projects that we're going to work on today. So I click on New Project, make sure that the compositing folder on the desktop is set as my project folder, and give this first project, chroma keying, a name. And now I can import the files, the source files for this first project. I make sure that I'm in my project folder, and then I can simply double click into this area that says import media to start. Go to the compositing folder again, and I select the introductions double.mpeg4 file and also the Warhol weather map file. You can hold down the command key while making that second selection, and this is also how you could select multiple files, more than 2 files at once. Click import, and in order to create a new sequence I actually use the Warhol weather map still image as a starting point. So I take this image and drag and drop it onto the new item icon at the bottom of the window, which creates a new timeline, a new sequence, which I can rename. Right now it has the same name as the source file that I used in order to create it. So this is chroma keying _ sequence. And you see that in that sequence I already have my still image file incorporated in the track V1. You also see that the duration of this can be changed, duration of the still image file, by using the selection tool and then just grabbing the endpoint and stretching it out. The default duration of this is actually set by a setting you can find under Premiere Pro, Preferences, General, Still Image Default Duration. Mine was set to 5 seconds, but you can change that, and then the next time you import a still image, it will default to that duration. Alright, now after I created the sequence, if you like, you can actually check the sequence settings just to make sure that it's our standard 1080p HD definition sequence with the right settings for our sound and frame rates. So with the sequence selected, this blue area around it, you can go to Sequence, Sequence Settings, and then double check these settings, which look very nice. In fact, it's a 1920 by 1080 frame resolution. We have square pixels, 29.97 frames per second, and a 48 kilohertz soundtrack to go with that. All right, so let's introduce also Shia LaBeouf that will be used in the foreground. And what we need to do is actually get rid of this green screen background from the original footage and make it transparent. This is what chroma keying is all about. We basically choose a color hue in our composition and turn it transparent so that other image content from layers beneath it can actually show through. And I do this with an effect that is called Ultra Key. I go to the effects panel in my project window, and then rather than finding it in these folders, sometimes I actually forget where it is exactly located. I just use the search field and type in Ultra, which reveals the path to that effect. So it's in Video Effects, keying Ultra Key. I take the effect from here and drag and drop it onto the green screen layer, so onto the introductions layer. And if you like, you can even, already crop the time of the Warhol layer, trim this to the same duration as the introductions layer, and then if you like, zoom in temporarily a little bit more so you can actually preview things maybe a little bit more easily. All right, I have the Ultra Key effect applied to my introductions double layer, but you don't really see that anything has changed in here. So in the next step, what we need to do is we need to actually fine-tune and tweak the settings of this filter, of this effect. We do that by double-clicking onto the introductions double layer, the layer that we just applied the Ultra Key effect to. And then in the source window, we go to the Effect Controls tab. And this will give us access to all the different components that we need in order to set a nice key color and then fine-tune the chroma key effect that we just applied to that. So what I do is I take the eyedropper tool from the key color, and then I move it over into my image area and click on an area that is a slightly darker shade of the hue, a slightly darker shade of the color that I would like to turn into a transparent background. I can hold down the command key, and you see that temporarily while I hold down the command key, the little color picker puffs up. And that allows me to, rather than sampling only one pixel, the chroma or the hue aspect of this one pixel, it will allow me to sample a 5 by 5 area of pixels, so giving me a more averaged kind of chroma response from the color that I'm sampling. So you can see then clicking into the green area will already give me a pretty good initial chroma key effect that now I can fine-tune a little bit more. You see there's still some corners here where we see the original background kind of shining through. But we can now fine-tune this effect much more to get a really good keying result from that. I do that by going back to the Ultra Key effect, and under Output, I switch from Composite to Alpha Channel. And this will give me a really nice preview of the areas that are going to be fully opaque, basically all the white areas here that you can see, and the areas that will be fully transparent, which is the background, all the areas that are black right here. The goal of the fine-tuning of this filter is to get all the areas that need to be opaque, all the white areas, as solid white as possible. So trying to get rid of some of these shades and shadows that are in here. And the areas that need to be fully transparent in the background, that need to be fully black, we want to get them as black as possible, getting rid of some of these highlights that we still see in there. And this is in fact the first thing that we do. So we go to the matte generation selection of settings, and under highlight we try to get rid of these highlights as much as possible. So if we set this all the way down to 0, already takes care of some of them, not too many in this case, but we'll get back to that in just a second.